Okay, so think about this for a second. You grab a bottle of surface cleaner, right?
Mm.
Or maybe you walk through a hospital. Notice how clean it is. Ever really stop to think about the sheer scale of the industry behind that? It's something we interact with, or maybe avoid interacting with every single day.
Yeah.
And well, it turns out it's a much bigger deal globally than you might imagine. So today we're doing a deep dive into the world of surface disinfectant cleaners.
Exactly. And our mission here isn't just to, list a bunch of numbers. We're really digging into the trends, the forecasts. We're using the latest industry data, specifically insights from cognitive market research to understand what's really going on. What does this tell us about global hygiene, about public health shifts, and, how does something so basic become a massive economic driver?
Okay, let's unpack this then, because the
Exactly.
scale,
Yeah.
just hearing the initial figures, we're talking about a market that back in 2021 was already pulling in over $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's pretty
All right.
substantial.
Oh, absolutely. It's significant. So to put some concrete numbers on it, the global market was valued at around $1.2 billion in 2021. And looking forward, the projection is it hits almost $1.5 billion by 2025 and then keeps climbing to over $2.1 billion by 2033. So that reflects a pretty steady compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of nearly 5%, 4.737% to be precise over that whole period. It shows real sustained growth. And the reasons behind this, the drivers, they tell a story about, well, modern life, really. Obviously, there's a generally higher awareness of hygiene. Recent events certainly boosted that. But it's more than just a blip. There's this ongoing, intense focus on infection control. And it's not just hospitals anymore. Think about hospitality hotels, restaurants. They've fundamentally changed their cleaning protocols, even residential buildings, commercial spaces.
Yeah.
There's a shift. And importantly, public health drives, government mandates, they're embedding disinfection into, infrastructure and policy. It's moved from being maybe a good idea to a basic expectation for safety.
Right. That makes sense. It definitely feels different walking into public places now, doesn't it? So if this is such a big global thing, how does it actually break down? I mean, are different parts of the world experiencing this the same way? Or are there, like, hotspots?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of hotspots, Asia Pacific seems to be really jumping out. Like a powerful growth hub, the numbers show it's starting at almost $500 million back in 2021. And it's projected to shoot past 900 million by 2033. That's huge. And that gives it the highest regional growth rate, right? Over 5.3% annually. That's definitely reshaping things.
It absolutely is. And yeah, within the Asia Pacific region, China is, well, perhaps unsurprisingly, the biggest player. It's projected to grow from about $145 million in 2021 to over $275 million by 2033. So very strong, steady expansion there.
Okay, but here's where I saw something really interesting in the data, India. India actually shows the strongest country-level growth rate in the whole region. We're talking an AGR of over 6%, 6.087%. That means its market size is basically set to double, right? From around 75 million up to over 150 million by 2033. What do you think is driving that kind of acceleration specifically in India? Is it policy or?
That's a really good question, and it probably points to a mix of factors. India's growth reflects, very rapid urbanization that's happening. There's also a growing middle class, more disposable income. And crucially, yes, government-led public health initiatives have likely given demand a significant boost, maybe faster than in some other more mature markets in the region. But it's not just China and India. You've also got Japan heading towards 125 million, South Korea projected around 95 million, Australia over 30 million, and Southeast Asia collectively reaching nearly 70 million by 2033. They all contribute to that powerful Asia-Pacific story.
Okay, let's pivot a bit. What about North America? It's often seen as, a more established market. Is it still growing significantly? The value there was just over $300 million in 2021, projected to get close to $500 million by 2033. That's still a solid growth rate, over 4% annually. So, yeah, seems resilient.
It is resilient. You're right. It's a more mature market, but the demand is still strong. The U.S. naturally is the dominant force there. Sales were around 250 million in 2021, expected to climb towards 400 million by 2033. It's that steady, consistent growth reflecting ongoing institutional needs and consumer habits.
And Canada and Mexico look pretty healthy too. Canada's numbers going from around 39 million up to nearly 68 million by 2033, and Mexico climbing from about 18 million to over 30 million. So yeah, like you said, broad commitment across the continent, it seems. Okay, now let's hop across the Atlantic to Europe. What's the picture there? The market started at about 245 million in 2021 and looks set to grow to over 400 million by 2033. It's another solid CAGR, around 4.2, 4.3%.
That's right, 4.264%. And within Europe, Germany shows particularly strong growth. It's going from nearly 49 million up to over 85 million by 2033. Which makes sense, given their, strong industrial base and healthcare sector, big consumers. And you also see continued expansion in other key markets, the UK heading towards 58 million, France towards 57 million, Italy around 40 million by 2033. Russia shows growth too, though maybe a bit slower, reaching about 21 million, and then steady growth in places like Switzerland and Spain as well. And if we move further south to South America, that region's also showing some pretty vigorous growth, actually. It's projected to expand from around $73 million in 2021 to over $130 million by 2033. That's a strong CGR, too, just over 5%.
And Brazil seems to be the leader there, yeah.
Yeah.
Expected to grow from roughly 28 million to over 50 million. That's quite a jump.
It is indeed. And you see similar upward trends elsewhere. Argentina is projected to hit nearly 24 million by 2033 and Chile over 13 million. It really points to hygiene becoming a bigger priority across the continent.
Okay, last stops, the Middle East and Africa. So the Middle East looks like a steady climb there, too. From about 53 million in 2021, heading towards, 95 million by 2033?
Correct. And the key players driving that in the Middle East are Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE, all looking at pretty substantial market sizes by 2033, likely fueled by, tourism, construction, public health focus.
And Africa, growing from almost 45 million in 2021 to nearly 80 million by 2033. Nigeria and South Africa seem to be leading the way, with South Africa alone projected to reach almost 34 million.
Yeah, it definitely reinforces this picture of sustained and growing interest in hygiene and sanitation solutions right across the African continent. When you look at all these regions together, the numbers tell a really clear story. This isn't just about cleaning supplies anymore. It's about a global shift in health and safety thinking. So what this all boils down to really is that these surface disinfectant cleaners, they're becoming fundamental, a critical part of modern society. They've shifted from just being a product on a shelf to, an essential component of public health infrastructure, whether that's in a hospital, a school, an airport, or even just in our own homes. The growth reflects something deeper about our priorities now.
Yeah, that's the takeaway for me, too. It makes you rethink things. So for you listening, what stands out from all these figures? Does hearing about this growth, especially in places like India or across South America, change how you view something as, seemingly ordinary as a cleaning product? It's clearly not just about wiping stuff down. It's tied into this huge, expanding global industry focused on keeping us safe. It really is eye-opening, isn't it? Just the sheer scale, the consistent growth. It shows how connected global hygiene efforts are to, everything else, economics, society.
And it leaves us with a pretty important question to think about, I think. As societies, as we clearly continue to prioritize health and safety, partly driven by us, partly by institutions, what comes next? What kind of new innovations are we going to see? In the chemicals themselves, in how they're applied, maybe even policy changes, things that could make effective cleanliness even more integrated into our daily routines.
Definitely something to ponder next time you reach for that disinfectant spray. It's a good reminder, isn't it, of all these unseen industries working away in the background, supporting our well-being across the globe. Okay, let's unpack this. Think for a moment, just about today. How many surfaces have you actually touched? Your phone screen, maybe a doorknob, that shopping cart handle. Now, how many of those do you think were disinfected? It's sort of this invisible shield, isn't it? It's quiet work, protecting our health that we often just don't even see. So today, on the deep dive, we're going deep into, what seems simple, but is actually a really dynamic space. The surface disinfectant cleaner market. Our mission, to get you up to speed quickly on something that honestly affects all of us daily. We'll look at what's driving growth, the big hurdles and the cool new trends shaping things. And all our insights today, just so you know, come straight from cognitive market research. So what is really going on beneath the surface here?
It's a great question because, like you said, it touches everything. And probably the single biggest driver, no surprise really, is that huge jump in hygiene awareness post-COVID. It wasn't just a blip, It was a fundamental shift, a real change in behavior both at home and in institutions.
Right.
Disinfecting surfaces went from being maybe something you did after someone was sick to just routine, a daily necessity. And that really spurred innovation and boosted demand everywhere.
That cultural shift is just massive. It's like cleaning became this universal sign of we care or this place is safe. But is it just about what people want now, or is there also a push from what they actually have to do?
Well, exactly. That's the other side of the coin. Global health regulations and compliance are a huge factor now. You've got agencies like the EPA, the CDC, WHO. They're not just suggesting things anymore. They've put much stricter guidelines in place.
Ah, okay. Binding rules.
In many critical areas, yes. Think healthcare, food service, hospitality. They mandate using certified disinfectants, ones proven effective against specific pathogens. And what's really interesting is how these rules are actively driving product development. They're shaping demand from the top down.
So it's not just consumers pulling, it's regulators pushing, forcing compliance, which I guess creates a pretty steady demand. And talking about institutions, that brings us to the really big customers in this market, right? The big players.
Indeed. The growth in institutional and commercial markets is, well, it's fundamental to the market stability. Organizations like schools, hospitals, airports, big office buildings, they're seriously investing in cleaning infrastructure now, often on a recurring basis.
So like ongoing contracts.
Exactly. Bulk buying, standardized protocols, regular sanitation programs. It's not just about buying a bottle off the shelf. This gives suppliers steady revenue, yeah, but it also builds their brand visibility in these really important settings. It's a different ballgame than retail.
Okay, sounds like a strong market overall, powerful drivers, but every market hits bumps. Are there issues here, maybe even problems caused by, well, too much disinfecting? Can that be a bad thing?
That's a really critical point, and yes, it absolutely can be. A major challenge, one that's maybe a bit under the radar, is microbial resistance. Overusing certain chemicals or using them incorrectly can actually help microbes evolve to resist them. It's a serious concern.
Wow.
And tied into that, you have growing environmental awareness. People and regulators are looking much harder at the active ingredients, demanding safer, maybe more natural options.
Yeah.
So brands are under pressure, they have to reformulate, find alternatives, diversify. It raises that tough question.
Mhm.
How do you balance being effective right now with being sustainable and safe long term?
And just walking down the cleaning aisle.
Yeah.
Wow. It feels like a new brand pops up every week. That sheer number of options, that sea of options, that must create headaches for companies too.
Oh, definitely. Market overcrowding is intense, and that leads straight to fierce price competition. The barriers to entry aren't super high, so you get a lot of generic brands, private labels flooding in, and that leads to commoditization. Products start looking the same, competing mainly on price. It squeezes margins, especially for the established players, unless you have really strong differentiation, maybe solid clinical data or a trusted eco label or just powerful branding. It's genuinely hard to stand out.
Yeah, I can see that. And I'm probably guilty of this myself sometimes.
Yeah.
You just grab a bottle, spray, wipe. You don't always read every single instruction, do you? I imagine that causes problems too.
It's a very real issue. Consumer misapplication. It's a significant risk. Using the wrong dilution, not leaving it on long enough, using it on the wrong surface, it can make the disinfectant useless or sometimes even hazardous. And that doesn't just erode trust, it actually opens up manufacturers to regulatory action, maybe even lawsuits.
So what are they doing about it?
Well, companies are investing more in clearer instructions, simpler labeling, education campaigns too, and definitely focusing on packaging that's safer and harder to misuse.
Okay, so we've got the drivers, the challenges.
Mhm.
Let's look ahead. Where's the innovation happening? What's really shaking things up, especially maybe for people wanting greener options?
Yeah, that's a huge trend. The rise of eco-friendly and bio-based disinfectants is really taking off. And what's key here isn't just that consumers like green products, it's that big institutional buyers are now actively writing eco-certifications into their purchasing requirements.
Ah, so it's becoming mandatory to compete.
In many cases, yes. Sustainability isn't just nice to have anymore, it's table stakes. So R&D is shifting fast towards things like plant-based ingredients, biodegradable formulas, truly recyclable packaging. Think EPA Safer Choice, USDA Biopreferred labels, those matter now.
That's a definite shift. Okay, so greener options are one thing. What about making the protection last longer? Are we seeing tech for that?
Yes, absolutely. Another really exciting area is antimicrobial surface coatings. These are pretty innovative. They're infused with things like silver ions or advanced polymers, materials that basically keep inhibiting microbial growth over time.
So not just clean right after wiping, but staying cleaner.
Exactly. Offering protection that can last days, maybe even weeks. Think about high-touch areas, hospitals, gyms, public transport, places where you just can't be constantly reapplying traditional cleaners. It's a potential game changer for continuous hygiene.
Wow, okay. coatings, greener formulas. What about the really futuristic stuff? Are we seeing smart technology enter the cleaning space?
We absolutely are. This is where you see a real leap forward intelligent disinfection technologies. We're talking autonomous UVC robots, for example. They use specific UV light to damage microbial DNA, sanitizing rooms without needing a person there.
Robots cleaning rooms. Seriously.
Seriously. And also things like IoT-enabled dispensers,
Yeah.
soap or sanitizer dispensers that track usage, send alerts when they're low, maybe even log compliance for facilities.
Huh. Connecting cleaning to the internet.
Pretty much, if you zoom out, you see cleaning protocols getting integrated into smart building systems. It adds this whole layer of operational intelligence to what used to be just routine manual labor.
So putting it all together then,
Yeah.
these drivers, the challenges, these really cool trends, it paints a picture of a market that's, well, it's definitely maturing, but also getting seriously modernized.
Absolutely. As regulations get tighter, as technology races ahead, and as our own expectations about hygiene keep rising, the surface disinfectant market is just going to remain incredibly essential, resilient, innovative across pretty much every industry.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How these changes in something seemingly basic, like disinfectants driven by health crises, rules, amazing tech, how it might reflect bigger shifts. Bigger shifts in how we as a society think about public health and how we weave technology into, well, into the fabric of our daily lives. Other invisible systems like this are quietly changing all around us right now. Something to ponder.